Good morning, everyone. We are slowly bouncing over from the waiting room. Our network might be a bit pokey today. Can I just get those of you with your cameras on to give me a wave if you're there? Because it looks like most of you are frozen. All right, so Justin, you're the only one who's not frozen right now on my end. Nice. And I'm still waiting for three classrooms are stuck in the waiting room, and at least 3 classrooms are in here, but I can't see them. Seems like a good start, actually. Yeah, this is good. Okay, well, let's see if I actually just lost everybody within Park High School. So I am recording. We will be able to get this out to them, but I want to be respectful of your time and everybody who is here with us and can participate. So let's get started, see where it goes. Justin, it might be a lot of you. Although if you need to turn off your cameras, if that might help our situation, then that's obviously okay. I'll start by introducing myself. I am Kelly Steenrod, and I am the Academy coach at Park High School, the Academies of Racine Park. And this is See Your Future Expo Week 2021. So typically we would have this as a day, but because of COVID, we're doing it virtually across the course of a week, spread out with different areas of interest each day of the week. Today we have business, marketing, accounting, culinary, and then IT/computer science. And then we have 5 guests here. I think 4 might have made it. We have 5 guests here. We have Ben from Higher Expectations, Ty from Gateway, Chelsea from Goodwill, Justin from Modine, and Ben from Sewer Pack. I'm pretty sure that's how we say that. So we're going to start by going around, and I'm just going to go in the order that I see you on my screen. And I'll ask you some questions, and we invite you to expand and share. The first question, very simply off the bat, what is your name? What is the company or organization that you represent? And then just tell a little bit about what it is your company or organization does. And what position do you have within that company or organization? So Chelsea, you're first on my screen. So if you could unmute and introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Chelsea. I am a lead recruiting consultant for Goodwill Talent Bridge. So I'm going to pull up these notes here because I already lost my train of thoughts. It's Monday. Let's hear. Yeah, so I work for Goodwill, and within Goodwill, there is a staffing and recruitment firm called Talent Bridge. And so we staff and recruit for the Milwaukee and the metropolitan Chicago area. And the team that I am on actually helps recruit for Milwaukee Public Schools. So I help recruit for substitute secretaries and also healthcare assistants and paraprofessionals as well.
Great, thank you. All right, Ben Taft.
Hi, I'm Ben Taft. I work for Higher Expectations for Racine County. It is a nonprofit here in the area working to try to help improve outcomes across different demographic and groups in education, from the kindergarten level all the way up to graduate school. And we look to bring in practice from around the country to measure and improve performance, and generally try to give help to people who want to use data to improve their educational practice. And I am a pretty new hire. I've only been working for us for about 2 months, but I am the data impact manager. So I'm basically a data scientist.
Great, thank you. And then we have the other Ben McKay.
Good morning. My name is Ben McKay. I'm the Deputy Director for the Southeastern Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, or SEWR PAC. So you got that right, Kelly. That's how you say it. The commission is a government agency that provides land use and transportation planning and water planning services to over 150 counties, cities, villages, and towns in southeastern Wisconsin, which is made up of 7 counties overall, including Racine County, of course, and Kenosha, Walworth counties, and Milwaukee, Waukesha counties, and then Ozaukee and Washington counties to the north. So I think I was actually asked to come here to speak, surprisingly, I think, about culinary arts, and I have no culinary arts background, but one of the things that the commission is currently working on is actually a plan about food for our region. So I think that was the connection that was trying to be made. Most of what we do is help communities prepare different types of plans, maybe long range plans to determine where and how they want to grow in the future, maybe looking 20 to 30 years out in the future. We also help communities do things like write zoning ordinances to help them regulate their current land uses, and then write other plans regarding things like developing community facilities such as parks, for example. So that's what we spend a lot of our time doing, as well as plans at the regional level, where we look at things like transit service and the freeway system and things like that.
Great, thank you. All right, Justin, you're next.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Justin Wood, and I'm a human resources generalist for Modine Manufacturing here in Racine. So Modine Manufacturing, we are a publicly traded global thermal management manufacturer, which, we're pretty diverse from a product standpoint. We historically have always been known as a company that has manufactured radiators and oil coolers for your off-highway and commercial vehicle applications, and we still do that today. But now we're also known for commercial HVAC, actually primarily through applications like schools, any heating and cooling management for the most part. That can be applied to HVAC, data centers. It can also be applied to still electric vehicle applications, and then also internal combustion engine applications as well. So I always just say heating and cooling is kind of our quote unquote bread and butter, if you will.
All right, thank you. And then we have Ty. On my screen, it says you're still connecting to audio. So we will come back to you. All right, that'll bring us back to our next question. And it is, what skills and education are needed in your career area? So in general, not specifically what you did, but if somebody else were looking to get a job similar to yours, either at your company or at a different place, a different company or organization, what skills or education should they have prior to applying? And Chelsea, we'll go back to you.
So skills and requirements at Goodwill to be a recruiting consultant. We ask that you have 2 years of college education or an experience equivalent to recruiting with 3 years of experience in that role. Experiences related to customer service environments requiring verbal and nonverbal communication skills. Previous experiences related to human resources, customer service, and or recruitment, ability to operate personal computer or placement software, And then the ability to work a flexible work schedule based on the business's needs. Sometimes we do, nights, weekends, depending on if we need to get extra people.
All right, thank you. Ben T.
So as a data scientist, that's sort of a new and emerging field that is still kind of trying to figure out what it is. I was thinking about that today, and it would be fair to say it kind of possibly the closest thing to what I do is like a librarian. I'm doing a lot of keeping track of files and where data come from. And so I think someone with any kind of background in research is probably going to do the best job in this, like having experience working with other people's files and figuring out where, like, archives. So honestly, I think a library science degree would be a really useful thing for this. But the traditional people who get roles for this are like programmers and statisticians who are familiar with the end products. Although I do a very small amount of actual statistics. So definitely a college degree would help. Also, you have to not get bored staring at computers.
That's a big one. All right, thank you. The other Ben.
Probably an important background to have educational, speaking about education, would be probably degrees in geography and urban planning are pretty common for urban planners to have as they enter the field. Once they are in the field, similar to what Ben Taft had talked about, being able to do research is extremely important. So oftentimes urban planners are asked to look at a problem that they may not have much background in. For example, the regional food system plan, I don't necessarily have much background in the food challenges that are facing our region, but nonetheless, I've been asked to look at those problems and develop a plan to address them. Being able to write is extremely important. Everything we do ends up in written form somehow, whether that's going to be, small pamphlets or handouts that we use for public engagement so people can kind of have a better understanding of what we're doing, or if it's the complex long-range plans or ordinances that I had referenced before to help communities decide where to grow and how to regulate their land uses. Public speaking is actually very important. We do lots of engagement with the public, things like we're doing today, and as well, urban planners often speak to local government officials, whether that's officials from county boards or city councils or plan commissions. Using something called Geographic Information Systems, or GIS, is extremely important to urban planners. It helps us create maps, as well as it helps us kind of look at how different things interact with each other, like maybe where the best soils are, or wetlands, or water as it relates to where a community may want to grow in the future. And also, as Ben had talked about, statistics is important in urban planning as well. Again, not really necessarily performing your own functions, but helping you kind of understand some problems using statistics is very helpful.
Great, thank you. Justin.
And yeah, as someone in human resources, is similar to Chelsea in a sense, like recruiting definitely makes up a big portion of human resources, but that isn't necessarily the only aspect of human resources. I feel there's multiple different routes that you can go, recruiting being one, probably the most commonly referred to. You can go down benefits, you can go down compensation. I think regardless, whatever route you want to go within human resources, a bachelor's degree is preferred, if not most cases potentially even required in either HR management or some other relatively applicable degree like a business management degree that you can get from a university then. But beyond that, in order to maybe focus on some soft skills that students or individuals need to have a successful career, I feel that you need to have a very great ability to communicate both directly and indirectly. I think effective communication in the workforce, regardless of HR or not, is very important. Being able to tell people what you need and how you need it, or being able to ask what is needed and how is it needed is very, very important. So beyond communication, the ability to want to help people, that's what drew me to the field. So certainly I think there needs to be some like a compassionate side of human resources then as well.
All right, thank you. So we're on to our next question, and that is, what was your career pathway from high school to present? So I know, for example, I did not go to college expecting that I would wind up here, and I've had a couple career changes along the way. And certainly in high school, I never thought I would wind up back in a high school. So let's hear your paths. How did you get where you are? Chelsea.
Awesome. I went to school at UW Milwaukee. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and sociology. So pretty far off of the human resources field. After I graduated, I wanted to become a probation officer. And at that point, they only hire every 2 years for that role. And the year that I graduated, they weren't hiring. So I moved up here to go to school. And so I, applied everywhere to make ends meet. I actually got a job as a barista at Starbucks. And I actually fell in love with the company at that point. So I was like, I don't know if I want to be a probation officer anymore. So I worked my way up from a barista to a shift supervisor to a store manager. And I actually was a store manager.
All right, she froze. I'm not sure if other people froze also. So Ben T, are you there? All right, Chelsea, are you still there? I don't know what just happened, but everything shut. Maybe Ben can answer that when we get to him. We got to the part where you were working for Starbucks and you fell in love with the company.
Yes. So I worked my way up from a barista to a shift supervisor to a store manager. And I was a store manager at a Starbucks for 5.5 years. I just started a family and I was starting to feel burnt out. I was really looking for a job with better work-life balance. So I applied at Goodwill Talent Bridge because I knew I wanted to still continue to help people, find them jobs and get them working and, all of that. And I knew that I wanted to go somewhere into the HR field. I just didn't know where. So I've been here for about 7 months now, and I absolutely love it.
Great, thank you. Okay, Ben T.
So I've also gone through a number of different career changes. So I'm not actually originally from Racine. I've lived all over the place, but I went to college because I was really to Cornell University because I was really interested in studying birds. I've always been sort of obsessed with birds. I'm a literal bird nerd, and so I got really interested in how birds learn how to sing while I was there. And so that's where I went to graduate school to study. I went to learn how to follow birds around and record what they were singing and keep track of how many babies they had and see if there was any kind of relationship with that. And that field is called behavioral ecology. And during that PhD work, I ended up having to write a lot of software for measuring the sounds the birds were making. And that works out because the birds are here in the spring and they sing, and then the rest of the year you got to find something to keep yourself busy. And so I ended up learning a lot of different statistical and software tools to try and measure the songs. And my biology mentors felt like I was getting a little astray from that, from the biology, and getting a little too deep into the computers stuff. And while I was in grad school, I also met and married my wife, and she also got her PhD. And through a variety of sort of typical moves around the country looking for a permanent job, we ended up here in Racine because she is a biology professor at UW Parkside. And so when we got here in Racine, I started looking around for something to do. Turns out there were not any jobs for biologists. I was looking, I originally went to school looking to become a professor myself. So I have taught part-time at a bunch of different places. I've taught at Parkside, I've taught at Carthage, and I've taught at the Prairie School. But I always kind of kept my hand in the computer science stuff that I was working on and studying sounds. So I actually have a business that I'm working on to apply the software that I developed for measuring bird songs to measuring human speech during language learning and like speech therapy. So that's kind of my long-term goal, is to work on that. But recently I got hired by Higher Expectations because I have a lot of skills organizing and representing complicated data. And so hopefully one of the things that Higher Expectations is really working on is increasing equity across racial and economic divides. And so I'm pretty much the prototypical privileged white dude. And so one of my goals as a Higher Expectations employee is to train my replacement, hopefully with someone who is from the community and is more directly involved with the challenges we're helping to redress. So that is how I ended up at Higher Expectations.
Fascinating. That is the path that we love to hear. All right, thank you. And now Ben M.
Thank you. My path is a little less varied than Chelsea's and Ben's. It was pretty straight line, actually. I went to college at UWM and I had a bachelor's degree in geography and a master's degree in urban planning, which again is a pretty common pathway for urban planners to get into the field. When I was in grad school for urban planning, getting my master's, I was an intern for one of the communities in southeastern Wisconsin, where I also had experience with Starbucks, but it was a little different than Chelsea's. Their one of their corporate lawyers didn't agree with the zoning ordinance that the community had, and we had a whole bunch of discussions about that disagreement. After that experience, I started working at the Commission Sewer PAC quite a while ago now, in 2004. I was an entry-level planner working for a county and 14 communities within that county, do a long-range land use plan. Then I got to do different types of regional plans after that. They covered all 7 counties in the southeastern Wisconsin region, including a regional housing plan and Vision 2050, which is the long-range land use and transportation plan for our region. It looks at all kinds of different modes of transportation as well as recommended land uses. So that was very interesting. After that, I moved into kind of more of a division head management role at Sewer PAC, where I oversaw, going back to smaller communities, oversaw the development of plans for those communities. And then a few years ago, I became deputy director after some of the people at Sewer PAC retired.
All right, thank you. Justin.
And yeah, for me personally, I jumped around quite a bit. I actually initially went to school at Oklahoma State, and I initially started playing some college sports out there, thinking that I was going to be playing sports for a living. Quickly, it became a pipe dream as I became injured, and I started actually in engineering there. And I believe I selected the wrong major of engineering. You know, I knew that I wanted to be engineering, but I didn't really know too much about the differences. So then I thought, well, I love math, so I'll switch to math. I thought might as well be a math teacher. Transferred up to a local community college where I'm from in Aurora, Illinois, and finished my associates there. And then I decided to transfer back or move up to Milwaukee, transfer to UW Milwaukee, and finish my degree in HR management. You know, I had thought quite a bit about math. I had thought the only logical pathway perhaps at the time for me was maybe go into teaching. So I thought, you know what, I wanted personally a little bit more security for myself. And I felt that just going for a universal, something that was very universal, at least made most sense for me in that moment. So I decided upon HR. So switched from math or engineering to math to HR, a bit of an interesting pathway, but now I've been with Modine for about the last 2.5 years and still out in the Milwaukee area. And personally, I feel I've made all the right decisions to get to this point.
All right. So your path changes took place a little bit more right after high school. In those 4 years, you did a lot of exploring during your college time, and now you've kind of stayed on the same road since then. All right.
Yes. Yeah. Quite a bit early, and now I'm a little bit more grounded, I guess you could say.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So we have Ty who logged in a little bit later. Ty, if you could just introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, what you do there, and then we'll catch you up with the path that has led you to where you are now.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Ty Kinnis. I'm the chair for the IT department at Gateway Technical College. I also teach in the web software developer program and the data analytics program out at the IMAT Center. I've been doing this for quite a while. Kelly, do you want me to do the same thing the other people were doing, is kind of tell how I got to where I am?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, I'll tell you what, I never started out thinking that I would be working in IT. Let's start there. I actually started pursuing a business degree, and mostly because I got pressured by my parents when I was younger. I didn't go to school right out of high school. I went to UWM for a semester, and very frankly, and this is a story I tell my students, I went to school, was very intimidated. I walked into like Bolton Hall, like Business 101, first thing in the morning. There were like 500 people in the room. I was very intimidated, and I basically just stopped going, right? Eventually, I went back to school and went to MATC instead and got my business degree there. And then when I graduated, I'm like, what the heck am I going to do with a business degree? They had placed me at like J.C. Penney, as a clerk. And I said, you know what, that's not what I want to do with my life. So I said, I'm going to go for a 4-year degree, started, completing my business degree. And then I came to the same crossroad at the end of that degree. What do I want to do with my life? And I'm like, these computer things seem like they're going to go somewhere someday. And this is, mind you, this is like 35 years ago. And so I decided to take on a second major, which was, a little bit shocking to my parents, but I plowed through it and I got my two majors, not a major and a minor, but 2 majors coming out of school. And then the school hired me as their IT guy. And then I got my master's degree really quick, like in a 1.5 years, I had my master's degree. Stayed there for quite a long time, eventually went into teaching, ran several of my own businesses, did a whole bunch of freelance web work and consulting work. And then I ended up here at Gateway about 9 years ago, full-time. And now this is my first full-time teaching gig, but I've been here now for quite a while and kind of oversee all the programs and all the faculty. We have a lot of contact with industry. And one thing I tell my students as they're starting out, and in fact, I have a group that's going to come in here in about 2 minutes, is there's no better time to get into IT than right now. And if you think it's kind of late to get in the game, it's not. It's just all starting out right now. The opportunities are mind-blowingly awesome, provided, and here's the big thing, provided you learn the skills that they want to hire. So if you learn skills and you're really interested in this field, there's great money to be made, but that's not all it's about. It should be something you want to do. The other thing that I also tell my students is I always pursued kind of interests in music at the same time. So while I was doing all that stuff, I also got a degree in guitar and played as a professional musician for a number of years as well. So you can do both, and there's kind of a correlation too. So the big key is being interested in what you're doing and going full force into it.
Thank you so much, Ty. And I know that you need to go teach a class, and you kind of summarized our last 2 questions anyway. So I will thank you for your time, and you can go teach. Thanks. All right.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye. All right. So we're down to our last 2 questions, which I think we'll just combine because we're getting near the end of our time together. The first one is, what do you love about your career? And the second one is, what advice do you have for our students? So what gets you out of bed in the morning? What do you like about your job? And what advice might you have for students who are sitting in the same seats that we all sat in however many years ago? And it'll bring us back to Chelsea.
Sure. What I love most about my job is really the connections that I make with the people that I hire. I hire roughly 20 people a week, but the connections that I still have with them throughout the day, checking in on them is really what does it for me. I love when I offer someone a job and you can just hear the joy in their voice, whether they've been searching for a day, weeks, months. I just really love that aspect of, being that change someone might potentially need in their life. Advice I would give is ask questions if you need help. Don't get worried if you don't know what you want to do with your career, because, change is a good thing sometimes. And really, if you set your mind to it, just go and get it.
All right. Thank you. Ben T.
So the thing I most like about my job is problem solving, and it's a lot of what I do is like puzzle solving. So it's kind of like I get paid to do like really complicated crosswords, you might say. So again, the nerdiness is really satisfied with that. But my advice is that you need, so I have, in all lack of humility, I have a ridiculous number of really rare technical skills, but I've only ever gotten jobs through people I knew. I've never been hired by someone who said like, wow, he's got a lot of skills, let's see if he will do the job. No, I've only ever gotten jobs by someone saying, oh, I know Ben, I would trust him to do a good job with this. And so cultivate relationships, meet people, always, present yourself as someone who is can be trusted and can be worked with, collaborate, and you will end up getting career opportunities that you never really thought of. And then you'll try and be like, oh, actually, I like this. So it's learn skills that you like to do and then make good relationships with people.
Great advice. Ben M.
So a lot of my job is really, and I think this is the most important thing I do, and also probably the most rewarding, is trying to work with communities and really listen to what their problems are to try to help them solve those problems. So like Ben T was talking about, often it is like working with a large puzzle, just a different kind of puzzle, but also very complex. And I think probably some good advice was, this is one of the most important things in my job anyway, is you need to be a very good listener to help the communities really understand what the problems they're facing are and how to face those challenges. So listening is extremely important. Oftentimes we'll be working with communities that have, something they need to solve, and there may be frustration because maybe the local community leaders don't necessarily understand how to go about solving some of the problems that they're facing. So being able to listen to them, help them with their frustration, and ultimately help them develop a plan or ordinance or whatever it might be to help them solve their problem is certainly challenging and rewarding. And being a good listener is the biggest part of that. And also, I think, as you move forward in your career and you're really trying to break into whatever career you finally decide on, not becoming frustrated if it doesn't work out right away is very important too. In my personal experience, after I finished grad school, it actually took me a year to find a full-time position, which I here at Sewer Pack. But during that year, I was applying for jobs all over the country. And at that particular time, there were a lot of people that were more experienced than me that were applying for the same types of jobs I was applying for. So I would go very far in the interview process, ultimately to be turned down many times across the entire country. So ultimately, though, it worked out very well. So not becoming frustrated, I think, is important too, and really just trying to make that first breakthrough in your professional career.
Yeah, thank you. And Justin, you can finish us off here.
Right. Well, I would say, honestly, there's two big things that I would say, especially as you are continuing to navigate high school and college. Learn how to be comfortable when you're uncomfortable is something that I feel was one of the greatest skills I've been able to teach myself, and I'm still like trying to evolve and continuing to increase my ability to do that, because no matter what you do in life or in any job that you have, you're going to have to do something for the first time. And it's likely going to be uncomfortable. So learning how to be able to overcome that uncomfortability and just being able to look at something new and take it head on is, I think, really, really important. The other thing I would say is don't sell yourself short. You know, a lot of people tend to say, well, I really like that looks so cool, but they tend to have like a lot of self-doubt that will stop them from actually going and trying that, which is something new. And one of the most, I guess, interesting feelings that you can have as a person is regret, and feeling regret is not a great feeling at the end of the day. So I would say, you know, even when it comes to applying to jobs, right? If it says that it requires 5 years of experience, but you maybe only have 2 to 3 years, the worst thing that someone can tell you at the end of the day is no, you know? So try it. You never know. It could end up working in your favor, and who knows, you could end up paying out for it. So those would be my two takeaways for you.
Thank you. You all had some great advice, and I'm happy that all of our students and staff were able to log in specifically for that final part. I know we recorded all of it. On behalf of the staff and students at the Academies of Racine Park, we thank you for your time with us today. We appreciate what you have. You were recorded. So while not everybody was here live, and behind each dark window that you're seeing, there are many, many students. So you're speaking to hundreds of young minds right now who appreciate what you're saying. And I know that they'll go back and listen to the first part also. So thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.